Never was so much owed by so many to so few. He said it in August 1940, voice steady, jaw set. The House of Commons hushed. The sky over Britain was a battleground. Radar screens flickered. Pilots barely old enough to shave climbed into Hurricanes and Spitfires with the odds stacked against them. Churchill stood up and didn't give a strategy lesson. He gave a human truth, a line, a spine, a way to hold the line. Never was so much owed by so many to so few. Tonight, we're going to take that line, and 2 more moments from his life, a failure that nearly broke him, and a victory that wasn't what it seemed, and turn them into a compact system to rewire your courage. Not theory, not pretty words. A method you can use when your sky is full of enemy dots, when your day is loud with alarms, when you feel alone at your post. Stay with me. The room is dim. The map is on the wall. The lamp is warm. Let's go to 1940. Britain stood alone. France had fallen. The Channel was a thin line on a map, and Hitler was staring across it. The RAF didn't have the luxury of time. Pilots scrambled on a bell, aircraft fuel, machine parts, sleep, all running out. Fear was everywhere, but Churchill did something precise. He lifted fear into gratitude. He took a nation of civilians and pointed them at the sky and said, in effect, "Your fear can feed panic, or your fear can feed devotion. Choose devotion." Never was so much owed by so many to so few. What does that mean for you here now? You don't have to be flying at 20,000 feet to understand this. In your life there are the few, the tiny, vital things that keep you in the fight. They might be habits, the morning pages that clear your mind, the cold shower that snaps you awake, the 20-minute walk that irons out your nerves. They might be people, one friend who tells you the truth, one mentor who says the hard thing, one loved one who refuses to let you set yourself on fire. Or it might be a mission you promised to serve, even when it didn't clap for you. Churchill's line is not nostalgia, it's a command. Identify your few, give them fuel, protect them. Because if they falter, the sky darkens, and if they hold, you get your day back. This is the first lesson. Courage is not a feeling you wait for. Courage is the result of honoring the few, the vital few. But imagine if Churchill had chosen something else. Imagine if he had stepped up and unleashed blame, cursed the shortages, the previous governments, the luck, the weather, the delays. Leaders do that all the time. People do that to themselves all the time. He could have raged, and everyone would have left wrung out. Instead, he named the heroes, and thereby created more of them. You want to lead yourself through fear? Name your few. Speak to them out loud. Write them on a card. Thank them when you do them, and when your fear spikes, switch from "I'm doomed" to "I owe them." That switch changes everything. Now leave the summer of 1940. We need to step into a colder room, a year that tasted like ash. It's 1915. The Dardanelles campaign has gone wrong. Gallipoli has failed. Churchill, the architect of a bold idea meant to shorten the war, is drowning in public fury. He loses his position. Headlines howled. The House of Commons turned its chin away. He writes letters that don't sound like a lion. They sound human, wounded, questioning, stunned by his own miscalculation. The so-called indomitable man steps into the wilderness. Here is where many careers end. Here is where many people rewrite the story as "I was ruined," and then go live like it's true. Churchill did something different. He went to the front, not as a tourist, not to be photographed, but to command a battalion in the mud. He put on a uniform. He went into noise and cold and danger, and in the space where his name had been a punchline, he rebuilt something that would last. Why did he do it? Because when failure breaks your public mask, you need a private forge. He didn't hide in the club or drown in bitterness. He went where work is real. He learned again, under fire, how to carry men's lives with serious hands. There, in that trench, he started the slow rebuild of trust, not because he needed applause, but because he needed truth. And he did another thing. He picked up a brush. The depression that he called his black dog stalked him, and he answered not with platitude, but with color. He wrote years later about painting as a pastime, a discipline that steadied his mind. That wasn't a hobby for a bored aristocrat. That was therapy with pigments. That was engineering for a mind at war with itself. So here's the second lesson. When failure crushes your public name, get busy in private reality. Find a trench. Find a craft. Something tactile, honest, non-negotiable. Something where improvement has edges you can feel. For Churchill, it was the mud and the canvas. For you, it might be weightlifting, carpentry, coding a tiny project to completion, cooking with patience, learning a piece on the piano until your hands don't shake. It might be showing up early to your job and running the part no one sees until it gleams. What he meant then still matters now. Your black dog may not be a war. It might be anxiety at 3 a.m. It might be a broken confidence after a mistake you keep replaying. Don't bargain with ghosts. Don't write a novel in your head about how it's over. Go to your trench. Do the small, real, repeated work. And if you can, paint. Or its equivalent. Not because you'll sell it, because it changes your nervous system. Now, we jump to 1942. The war has dragged on, supplies are strained, bodies and faith are exhausted. At El Alamein, in the desert, a British army breaks the enemy's momentum. The world tastes a turning point. Churchill walks to the microphone and says words you've probably heard, but maybe you didn't understand the medicine inside them. This is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end. But it is, perhaps, the end of the beginning. Listen to the architecture of that sentence. He refuses the sugar high of final victory. He also refuses despair. He names a phase change. He tells a tired people how to hold their gain, without pretending they've won the war. That's the third lesson. Name your phase. Too many people ruin their progress by mislabeling their moment. They either throw a parade too early and drift, or they refuse to celebrate at all and burn out. Churchill teaches a third way. Mark the shift. End of the beginning thinking stabilizes you. It says we have ground now. We can build here. Keep moving. Keep caution. No gloating, but no gloom. Apply it. You've cleared your debt down from unbearable to manageable. That's not the end, but perhaps it's the end of the beginning. You're sober 3 months. Not the end, not the beginning. You've exited the opening act. Now comes the craft of staying free. You've rebuilt your team after a failure. Not the end, not the start. A new middle. That label matters. It filters your decisions. It sets your sleep, your spending, your pace. Churchill was a master of phrases that stitched reality to resolve. Not denial, not fake confidence. Reality stitched to resolve. And underneath those phrases was something even harder. He changed. He adapted. He moved rooms, roles, views when facts demanded it. He wrote, after the Commons was bombed and the chamber had to be rebuilt, a line that doubles as a blueprint for your daily life. We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. He meant the physical space of Parliament, the size, the benches, the closeness that fuels debate. But look deeper. Your habits are buildings. Your routines are rooms. You shape them, then they shape you. So here's the fourth lesson. Don't just make goals, build rooms. Design your day like a chamber that compels the behavior you want. If you want to read, put the book open on the chair you sit in. If you want to write, make the desk clean and the document pre-opened with the first sentence typed. If you want to train, lay out the shoes and the playlist the night before. Shape the room, and the room shapes you back. Churchill's war rooms weren't random. They were deliberate. Maps, phones, lights, pencil stubs, ashtrays, that claustrophobic energy that says, decide. You can build your own war room, even if it's just a cleared kitchen table at 6 a.m. Never was so much owed by so many to so few. End of the beginning. We shape our buildings. 3 beams. Between them there's a space for you. A space where courage isn't a trait you're born with, it's a structure you build. Take a breath. Let's tighten the screws on this. You honor your few by naming them and feeding them. You convert failure into private work, not public drama. You label your phase so you neither coast nor collapse. And you build rooms that compel the behavior you claim to want. But how does this look when the pressure is ugly? When a message comes in with bad news, when money is thin, when the phone call you fear lights the screen? We go back to the map. We go back to that dim office, the clocks tick oddly loud, another folder sliding across the desk. You start by looking for the few, out loud if you can. My few today are 20 minutes of movement, 10 lines in my notebook, 1 honest call. You feed them. Then, if you're nursing a failure, you pick a trench task, the kind that doesn't impress anyone, the kind that rebuilds your spine. And as you do it, you say, this is not the end, not the beginning, but something new. Keep moving. Later, you shape a room that makes tomorrow lighter. Move a chair, clear a table, lay out tools. Nothing mystical, just practical, relentless, almost boring. And that's the point. Courage built this way holds. Here's a picture you won't see on a poster. Churchill walking in a garden with a cigar, paint on his fingers, eyes distant. Not a stump speech, not applause. Just a man recalibrating his head by changing his environment and doing the next right small thing. Do that. If a man who had the fate of a continent on his shoulders could stop and pick up a brush to steady himself, you can stop and pick up your version of that brush when your mind becomes a storm. Let me ask you something. If Churchill were standing in your doorway right now, coat collar up, hat shadow over his eyes, what would he say? He wouldn't flatter you. He'd point at your few like a general taps a map. He'd tell you to stop feeding your black dog with doom scrolls and late-night sugar. He'd put you at a post and say, hold this, hold it well. And when you stumbled, he wouldn't say, it's fine, or you're worthless. He'd take you to a trench and say, work, learn, repair, then advance. Midway through this, I want to pull you in. Which lesson hits you hardest right now? Honoring the few, trench work after failure, naming your phase, or shaping your rooms? Tell me in the comments so we can learn from each other's battles. And if this helped steady your day, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next piece of the system we're building together. Now, we return to that bench in the Commons. The debate is loud. Papers crinkle. A speaker's voice wavers, then firms. Churchill's genius wasn't invincibility. It was recovery. It was the refusal to let a single day, good or bad, define the arc. He lost elections. He won wars. He misread moments. He read the future with clarity when others muddied it. Through it all, he built a practice of courage. He wasn't consistent for consistency's sake. He changed when the facts changed. That's important. The point isn't to be stubborn. The point is to be faithful. To your few, to your trench, to your phase, to your rooms. Stubbornness is a costume that cowards wear so they don't have to think again. Courage thinks again. Courage updates. It doesn't abandon the mission. It refines the method. There's an image you need to carry from the Battle of Britain. A pilot breaks cloud cover, eyes burning, hands steady on the stick, engine screaming. He doesn't scream back. He does the job. The only way he can do the job is because 1,000 invisible people honored their few. A mechanic tightened the bolt. A radar tech watched the blurry dot for an extra minute. A dispatcher didn't leave early. That's how courage scales. Your life works the same way. You become that pilot by being that mechanic in your own house, your own kitchen, your own mind. And there's an image from Alamein, a map with arrows that once pointed toward you, now pointing away. Not all the way back, but bending. The bend is enough. You don't demand a miracle. You demand a bend. You get it by staying just a little longer at your post, by cleaning one more line of code, by making one more patient phone call, by walking 5 more minutes when you want to sit down, by drinking water when your brain wants wine. That bend adds up. That's end of the beginning energy. That's how you grind down a giant. Finally, a room. Not a grand office, just a space you can shape. Your bed made like a small act of rebellion. Your desk clear like a runway for thought. Your bag packed so the morning can't trick you. Your phone in another room so you stop feeding your dog the wrong food. Shape the room. The room shapes you. The room remembers who you said you wanted to be when you were thinking clearly. There's darkness in all of this. The channel at night with searchlights combing the sky. The hush after a bad meeting. The sting of a mistake you can't undo. But do you know what Churchill would demand you do with that darkness? He'd demand you stand in it without drama, name the facts, honor your few, and walk forward one measured step. He'd remind you that hope is not decorative. Hope is a discipline. It's a form of work. He knew that better than most because he carried hope when it looked absurd. He stood up when defeat was fashionable. He told the truth when the truth got you mocked. And then, when the tide turned, he refused the easy story that the hard part was over. He insisted on the longer truth. Beginnings end, middles grind, and endings demand humility. So here's your charge tonight. Write down your 3 few. Put them where you can see them in the morning. Choose one failure that's been chewing your mind and pick one trench task to start repairing it. A phone call, an apology drafted, a chapter studied, a coach emailed, a budget opened. Name your phase. Say it out loud, accurate and sober. Then change one thing in one room before you sleep, so tomorrow is different by design. Small, real, repeated. That's how you build a Churchill spine without the cigar and the war. End where we began. It's late in the House of Commons. The air smells like paper and smoke and stress. Churchill looks tired, which he often was, but his eyes are clear. If he could speak to you now, not as a myth, but as a man who knew defeat, who loved a country, who feared and acted anyway, he'd say something like this: keep your nerve, stand to your post, honor your few. Work in the trench that is yours. Name your phase, shape your room, and then, tomorrow, do it again. Because courage isn't an event. It's a habit. Built line by line, day by day, under pressure in the dark, until the map bends, the clouds break, and you realize almost without noticing that you've become the kind of person you were waiting for.